Hello and welcome. I'm Chris Volak, and this is part 2 of our video guitar lesson for the tune Romanza. Romanza is a very famous Spanish guitar tune. It's also known as Spanish Romance, Romanza d'Amore. It's known by a bunch of different names. Nobody's quite sure who composed it. But it's a very famous piece. Highly requested. So, this is part 2. Part 2, the right hand for part 2, exactly the same as part 1, no problem at all. It's just a simple arpeggio. A, M, I, A, M, I. Thumb on the downbeat. Very simple once you get the hang of it. Pattern continues throughout the entire piece. The part that's trickier than part 1 is the left hand. We are now in the key of E major instead of E minor. So we have 4 sharps instead of 2 sharp, 1 sharp. And that means a lot fewer open strings, as you will see. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with the very first chord. The very first chord is an E major, as opposed to an E minor, because we're now in the key of E major. All right, and it looks like this. Okay, how does that relate to an E major chord? Well, here's your cowboy E major chord, right? Well, for one thing, some steel string guitar players will play this note up here on the 4th string as an extension. Okay? Also, if you play arpeggio, there it is. There's our E shape. So, the note on the 1st string goes down to create the melody. Just like in part 1, but now we're holding a lot more full chords in this part. So, next chord looks like this. Well, I don't know about you, but to me that looks a lot like a B7. Look, there's your bar, B7 chord. B7, sus4. Okay, but it's not played as a bar. There's an open A in the bass, so all you need to do is make this shape right here. Start with the suspension. Second finger is free to get this next melody note. So first 2 chords together. Before we go any further, I'm going to show you a fairly advanced classical guitar technique that will help you negotiate some of these big shifts to these big blocky chords. It's very awkward to grab these chords all at once, all together, especially when you're making a big jump up the neck. So the way to do this is, think about it, only play the notes, only grab the notes that you need to play first, and then you can lay the rest of the chord down later. Get to that next melody note on top first to make the melody nice and smooth, and that will make everything else sound so much more connected. So let me show you how to do this between these first 2 chords, okay? Here's the first chord again. Now look, I only play that 1 note first, and then I put the rest of the chord down. Now this is going to be a little bit of a challenge at first if you've never done it before. But it's a very important technique in classical guitar, not only for this piece, but for tons of other pieces. Anytime you need to negotiate an awkward shift to a full chord, try to break it down and see if you can get to just a couple of those fingers first. Makes everything much more smooth, okay? And this will happen between almost every chord change in the second part of this piece. And I'll break it down for you each time, okay? So here we go again, first 2 chords. Get to this pinky first, then lay the rest of the chord down. Next chord. All right, does that look familiar from part 1? It sure does. There's our B chord again. This time in the 7th position, full bar chord, with a B in the bass instead of an A. Okay, what else is happening? Up here on top, this is a 9. We're adding a 9. If you know your chord voicings, you might recognize this as a B9 chord. Okay, now transition from the previous chord to this one. Let's look at it. There's our B/A up to here. Look what I do. Just those 2 fingers. I'm not trying to grab the whole bar plus the extra finger plus the 2 extra fingers. No, just those 2 first. Then the rest of the bar gets laid down. So that way I get to this melody note first as part of the shift. Okay, let's try it again. And here we go, just those 2. Now the rest of the chord. Okay, now you may notice a funky little thing I do with the fingering. I do it to make it even more smooth. I have this thing about sequencing fingering. I don't like to jump the pinky around, but on most of your editions, I'm pretty sure you're going to see this as all pinky. So I'll play it again and play it in the way that it probably is on your music, okay? So let's try it. Here we go to the B9. Watch the pinky. It's all pinky. That's how my edition has it. Okay. Next chord. To here. So what chord is this? E in the bass? Sure looks like a caged E chord to me. 7th fret right here, okay, but it starts out as a 6 chord with your pinky on the 6. The fingers lined up on the 9th fret here, and then it resolves down to that caged E chord shape. So that's what's happening there. Let's do it from the previous chord. Put them together. Here's our B9. To the E6. Resolving to E. Pinky goes up, 11th fret, to this chord. What chord is that? Still an E. Recognize it as another caged shape. It's a caged G form E chord. Very common. And then the melody goes down 1 fret at a time. All right, so let's take it from there again, from the B9. Here's our B9. To our E chord, E in the bass. Pinky to 11, pinky to 12 with our caged chord. Melody goes down 1 fret at a time to this chord. Okay, what chord is that? That's an A chord. E in the bass. It ends up with this little baby 3-note bar chord, E form, 3 or 4-note bar chord. Everybody knows that baby bar chord. That's what it's built on. But it starts with the C sharp up here. Then it walks down. Finally, to the little bar. Now here's another instance where you don't need to lay down this bar until the last note. Also, get the first note first, coming from the previous chord. What do I mean? Let me show you. Just the pinky here. Makes it nice and smooth. Then you have another half a beat, or whatever portion of the triplet, to get the rest of the notes in the chord. Then walk the melody down. So one more time from this E chord. Just these 2. Bass note, C sharp. Then get the other ones, the other notes. Next chord. This chord, the penultimate chord, sure feels and looks like another B bar chord, right? An A form B bar chord, and it is. It's a 7. We got a 7 in here, and it adds the 6. So basically, it's a bar with these 2 fingers on the 2 treble strings. The chord is a B7 with a 6. Oh, here's another instance where you don't lay the whole bar down all at one time. So let's go from here, the A chord. Oh. Let's do that again. And then just those 2 to start to make that transition smooth. Then you can lay down the rest of them. The last last chord, E major, with an arpeggio in the bass. The beginning of the part 2, we had the extension up here to G sharp on the first string. At the end, extension to G sharp down here on our bass string. And that's pretty much it. Let me play it one more time from the beginning with maybe a little commentary while I play. Here we go. Here's our E chord. To our B/7, B/A, I mean. Now up to the 7th position, B9, to our E cage chord, still E, walk it down, just the bass on this note. Now we get the bar, just these two, then lay down the bar. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. This is a brand new project for me. I've never done any of these lesson videos before, but the next one I'm going to do is a complete performance of Romanza all the way through without any talking, any commentary, and hopefully that will be up in a couple of days. In the meantime, I hope you find these lesson videos useful and helpful, and we'll see you at your next lesson. Bye.